Well, it's Wednesday. We talk a little Wasso football with the head football coach, Bill Blankenship, who's got to be happy. 52-7 over Westmore. First of all, you just have to be happy with what looks to be a pretty complete ball game now that you've seen film. Is that right?
It was, Rick. It was a good night for us. Westmore is not having a real good year. We knew that going in. They've been struggling a tad just to um, I don't know, to state the obvious. And so it was really important, I think, and as something we preached from the beginning of the week, is we've got to not play to the level of our opponent. It's vital that we understand that we have to make and the progress we have to make as a team, and that we're in a race to get better with all the best teams in this area. And so, man, let's don't focus on just winning. Let's focus on how to become a better football team. And I was very, very proud. They really took the coaching. We had a great week of practice. We traveled over there into a beautiful, not new stadium, but there is no energy in that environment. I mean, we didn't have a band, we didn't have a lot of crowd on either side, and it was just, ugh. But very proud that our guys on the sideline and from themselves brought their own energy, got off the bus and went to work and were very efficient offensively and defensively.
It's a hard message to get across sometimes, isn't it? It's not about the score because you can be up 21-0 and think that, hey, everything's going great. It's not that. It's now you use this as live practice and you have to improve. Remember the old John Smith line. Why did he practice at 5 a.m.? Because his opponents weren't. And that's what
That's
you have to
right.
get these guys to do, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. We've got to find a way to improve ourselves and understand that we're not hiding the fact that we are trying to prepare for the playoffs. We're trying to get to that point. We're not overlooking anybody, but this whole thing is we're not just trying to get with W's. W's is not what this is about. We're about trying to become a better football team, better individually and better as a group. And boy, all that to say, I was very proud. I was very pleased with the way our players handled it, and again, very efficient.
And you can hear some of the crows in the background. They agree as
Thank
well.
you.
They say that's a really good idea. I want to, first of all, remind you that this is sponsored by the folks at Tulsa Accident Care Center. Thank you to Jared and the folks over there. I'll tell you more about them in a minute. You've been around a lot of great quarterback play. You played the position extremely well yourself, but Drew Frankenfield, 20 of 22, 91% completion rate, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, averaged 18 a game. Or a completion, is that as complete a game as you've had a quarterback play?
It's pretty solid. It really is.
Pretty solid.
And the cool thing about it, Rick, is he would love to have those two incompletes back. I mean, he had one pretty wide open in the early drive, and we weren't able to convert on it. And so he's really at that point where he wants to talk about that stuff a little more than just all the good ones. So I love that about him. The thing that I see in Drew is he was an outstanding sophomore quarterback, game manager, with a bunch of good people. He's really becoming a quarterback that we're all just like, that's how you play the position. I mean, he's getting us into the right runs. He's getting the ball out into the RPO areas with very efficient timing. And then all of a sudden you look up and that's what you got. You got a 90% completion rate.
That's hard to come by. And then Bryson Francis, the guy who takes over for him, averages 23 and a half a carry and is your second leading rusher. Tell me about this sophomore.
Bryson is a young man that could start a lot of schools in our area. They would love to have him, and I hate to brag on him too much because I know how that world works.
Yeah.
But Bryson is a fabulous team player for us. He can throw it, he can run it. He's really good with the ball in his hands. And so it's interesting. We keep trying to find ways to utilize him in that area. And, it may be that we're able to, add packages and things like that as we go that aren't at the quarterback spot, but just to get the ball in his hands with a run pass threat.
Yeah, I was going to say you might have two quarterbacks in the field at some point.
Yeah. We've done that before. Uh, I've channeled some of my old Gus Malzahn opportunities when we were at Tulsa together, and thought about some ways that we could utilize that.
Yeah, and when Bill talks about Gus, is Bill's best line to me ever. We were in Mobile for the GMAC Bowl, came outside for the parade, and Bill came out and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, it was my night to watch Gus because he's in drawing plays with napkins."
That's right. That's
But you know
right.
what? We joke about that, but if you're not that guy, if you're not thinking about that all the
Uh-huh.
time, hey, what if we did this?
Yeah.
You get behind, can't you?
Absolutely, absolutely, and those guys are special, and thankful to have gotten to work with Gus and Mike Norvell and those guys, and now a lot of that's bleeding down into our young coaches and Josh and some of our other offensive coaches. They're very creative with what we're doing.
Before we leave the offensive side, games like that game against Westmore and others, because again, as we look at the end of the season, traditionally, there are a lot of games that on paper, hey, look, you're going to win the game, or at least you should win the game. The goal, as you said, is to get better. You're trying to get your younger guys better too. How do you start deciding how much time for each guy and what an individual goal is for each guy in each of these games, Bill?
Yeah. Well, that's always been a one of the harder things when you have good teams. Even back in our union days, back where you and I go way, way, way back. Those are great problems, but they're also real significant questions to ask. And one of the things I've always leaned towards, different than maybe what's a little more common these days, is we're going to get our starters out a little earlier and get our second unit in a little faster because I really want them to be able to play offense untethered. I'm not a guy that wants to score 80. I don't want to do that against my opponent. I'm trying to, if we need 80 to win 80 to 70, that's different.
Right.
But we're not just trying to see how many points we can score, but I also want us to run our offense. And so if that means we get our first group out a little earlier so that the twos can come in and actually run the whole offense, we'll try to manage that. But that's always a struggle of having a good handle on the game because sometimes the other team doesn't cooperate. If you start putting in your twos and the other team is still throwing the ball and trying to do all kinds of stuff and onside kicks and all that kind of stuff, it makes it hard to turn it into a
Right.
JV game. And so, there's a little art to it, and then you got to have a little luck to make sure it all works out the same.
Right. At the same time, make sure your ones are still sharp. They can't sit
Absolutely.
for,
They got
you
to
know,
get enough work.
yeah.
And, you don't want to get into a thing like last week where we, played them for a quarter. That wouldn't have made me happy at all because they do need to play. We're getting ready to play Edmond Memorial, a really, really good football team. We need to be polished up. So always being able to get those, but yet still see it as development for our young players.
Yeah, no doubt. Bill Blankenship with us, head coach at Owasso. We'll get to next week here in a moment. I want to remind you about Jared and the folks at Tulsa Accident Care Center. I mentioned this once before early in the season. Imagine if Coach Blankenship had to coach his quarterbacks in one field, his linebackers in another field across town, and then maybe his offensive line over in Tulsa. Would that work? Well, of course it wouldn't. Well, then why, after a car wreck, would you go all kinds of places for the care you need? Not for your car, but for you. You don't have to. You can go to one place in Tulsa Accident Care Center. You get your doctor there. You get your prescriptions there. You can get your PT there. You can get your imaging there, and it all happens in one place. So you don't have to drive to 15 different places. We've all done that. Doctor says, hey, here's what's going to happen. I need you to go do blood work over there. No, in this case, you do it in one building. Doesn't cost you a thing to walk in, no out of pocket, and it's pretty simple. You don't even have to make an appointment. So if you have a fender bender, have a car wreck, and you're trying to recover and you need it all done in one place, Tulsa Accident Care Center. They're in Owasso, Broken Arrow, and Tulsa, and it's 888-8080. 888-8080. So call them if, and I don't want you to have a wreck, but if you do, that's who you get a hold of. All right. So you mentioned next game. Not easy, but this is a team that traditionally has had at least a few dudes that are going to go on and play FBS football. What are you seeing this year?
Well, Memorial is really having a good season to start with. They're 5-1. They had one loss in overtime to Norman North, which was a crazy kind of game. Uh, Norman North was down. to Edmond Memorial. I believe it was 42-21 in the fourth quarter, and found a way to get back. And it was a crazy ending, but to tie it up right at the end of the game and then go to overtime, and Memorial missed an extra point, and North gets it, and so that's a loss for them. So they've had significant offensive production, averaging, 25, 30 points a game, getting it out there. They play a really tough, physical, solid defense. I think their front seven is as good as pretty much anybody we've played. I think that their approach on offense is creative. They're doing a lot of the Bigsby type stuff of formations and motions, and trying to get you into matchup issues. I don't think they have quite the same kind of skill personnel. Their quarterback, who was a 3-year starter, graduated. I think he's at Kansas now, if I remember right. But he has a little brother that's a really good linebacker slash running back. The quarterback that's playing has been very efficient. They're throwing the ball. They look a lot like the team that played last year. And I just think this is going to be a good test for us in a lot of ways. This is probably, as it plays out in our district, maybe the best team coming from the West Side that we'll see, at least on paper and who they played so far. And so I think it's a huge challenge.
As we move forward, we didn't talk much about your defense, but obviously they played well in that game as well. We talk a lot about offense because I know your
Yeah.
background, but Steve Neal's done a great job with your guys too. Where do you see the greatest growth, and what's the down the stretch goal for that group?
Oh my gosh, Rick, just night and day growth from week 1 to week 6. The way we are running to the football, and it seems so cliche to people that don't come watch it, but we are getting to the ball with speed, and we're tackling well. We're learning way better about what we call block destruction, taking on blocks, getting through blocks to go make tackles. The team defense approach that Coach Neal has going is really fun to watch. Our guys are loving it. They're enjoying it. We're flying around. I think we talked about it before. We had 9 new starters on defense to start the year. And little by little, these guys are growing into being, I think, a top tier defense. I'm excited because this will be a good challenge for us.
Yep.
And we have been, the last 3 weeks have played really good defense. And so I'm excited to see us continue to grow in that.
It's not unusual because it's fall break that you play on a Thursday. Do you care about that at all? How much do you adjust things?
Well, in this particular case, I kind of like it. I like the fact that we're going to have Memorial have one less day to get ready for us. And now it works both ways, obviously. I just feel like that we're efficient in how we go about it and how we teach. The fact that we're playing at home, I think it's advantage for the Rams. And so, you know, like I told our team, and I'm not trying to have one of those brain grenades, but I said it's only an advantage if you take advantage of the advantage. And that's, it's kind of word salad, but it's really true. We have a built-in advantage if we will seize it, if we will take care of the opportunity to practice and to prepare and to have more walkthrough time, because we're not getting on a bus. We have an opportunity to be ready to go when that ball kicks off at 7:30.
Maybe it's just me, but you seem awfully comfortable at this point in the season. You seem like you're really liking this.
Well, the team is fun to coach. This is a great group of kids that, year to year, you can have talent, but some are harder to coach than others. And the buy-in from this group of wanting to do things well and wanting to do things the way that we believe will help us, go through the playoffs and make that run to the final game. They're buying into it. And man, when you have players that do that, it makes you smile more.
I would imagine so. All right. Well, we'll visit next week and see as we head down the stretch what it's like. Hope you get a chance to watch some football Saturday.
Absolutely. It would be awesome. I love watching the ball.